Hello, Profit Hackers. I'm Jeremy Lott, the Chief Visionary for Foundation Accounting and Consulting. I owned a construction company for about 15 years before making a change to accounting because my accountants sucked. My goals are to simplify accounting for construction company owners, fuel your profits, level up your cash flow, and help you grow in a financially responsible way. So let's go. Hello, Profit Hackers, and welcome back to the Contractor Profit Hack Show. I'm Jeremy, and I'm with Foundation Accounting and Consulting, and I help contractors with their accounting and make it simple. That's my goal, is to make things simple. Right now, as we're filming, it is, or as recording, I guess, it is April 16th. And it's snowing outside here in Utah. Pretty crazy. Anyway, kind of sets an interesting mood for the day. But today, I want to talk about another number to track, key performance indicator. It's not a ratio because we're not really going to divide anything, or it's not a percentage or anything like that, right? But it's fantastic for helping. But to introduce this new topic, average job size, I want to tell you a quick story. I think I've mentioned before that I got the opportunity to coach my younger brother in wrestling in high school. I was one of his coaches and had a ton of fun doing it. And my brother, Eric, he actually passed away about 3.5 years ago. So God rest his soul. But he was so unpredictable. We never had any idea what we were going to get from him. So he had all the athletic talent in the world. He looked really smooth. When he did moves, it was they looked like the moves that you want to record and put on a training video. So that was pretty awesome. But we never knew what kind of attitude he was going to go out there with. And he didn't care nearly as much about winning and losing. He was just kind of whatever mood he was in that day. And that made it really hard because when you're coaching him, you want him to win and you want to help him win. If he has the wrong attitude, you're never going to get there, right? Even with the best moves in the world. And he was wrestling this kid in this tournament from Murray High School. And the kid was, I think, ranked first in state in his division. In Utah, we have several divisions that are basically school size that people compete in. But he was ranked first in state in his division. Right. And Eric was wrestling him, and he was doing an okay job. This was one of those matches where he was content to just win by 1 point. He didn't really care about running up the score or destroying people like I did. But he chose bottom when it was his choice in the third period, and he didn't need any points. He was up. All he had to do really was just kind of stay there on bottom and not give up stalling points and not get rolled onto his back, right? And he would win the match. And he knew that. He was very aware of that. And so he started doing absolutely nothing on the bottom. Well, a little bit before that, several practices before the tournament, he had made a comment about how there's no one in the state that can keep him down, meaning that he can get up and away and get an escape from anybody that he wrestled. He was bragging about being that good. And it occurred to me while I was coaching him that third period that I could take that quick jab at him and get him to score some points and get us out of that safety zone or out of that scary zone where we're winning by 1 point and get us up ahead by a few. So anyway, I hollered out to him while he was loafing around on the bottom. I said, "Hey, I thought nobody in the state could keep you down." And that did it. That was the trick. I wish I had something like that for him for every match, but that match, it did the trick. Within seconds, he was up and away and taking the kid down and turning him on his back and getting lots more points. And he ended up winning against this other kid who was ranked first in state quite handily. And so that was a ton of fun. But the reason that I bring this up, this topic and this story, is because I had basically zero expectations for my brother in his wrestling matches. I didn't know what was going to walk out there. I didn't know how it was going to go. I didn't know if something was going to set him off and make him work super hard or what, right? I had no clue. As an employer, I have employees and I have crews, and they're out there doing the work, right? They're hands-on doing the work. And I want to be able to know how they're doing. Also, when it comes to my marketing and how much money I'm spending on my marketing, I want an expectation so I know how much I'm getting for every dollar that I spend, right? And so we go through several different marketing practices here where we track the leads that come in and we track the contacts that we made, and then we contract the appointments set, and then we track the sales closed, and then we track the work on the back end, right? To make sure that the job gets started, that we get paid, and everything's great, right? And so average job size is super helpful for this because as we go through that whole process, we know how much money it takes to get those leads, right? And then we can run it through the process and filter it down until we get this many sales from this many leads. Well, I need to know what to expect. I have to know what's going to happen when I put money behind my marketing, right? And it takes some time at first to figure it out, but eventually you want to get to a point where you know that if I spend this much money in marketing, I'm going to get this much money in my pocket, right? And so we have all those other numbers that we're filtering things through to get ultimately to the number of closed jobs. And so now if I want to figure out how much money I'm making per dollar of marketing spend, I need to know my average job size. I have to know what my expectation is there, right? What can I expect when I sell a job? And so this is super important to track and keep around and follow throughout time as you make improvements and such. But the average job size is really, really simple. You just take your total revenue say for a year, and you divide it by the total number of jobs you did. Now, there's many different ways to figure out how many jobs you actually did, right? If you're using QuickBooks, you can pull up and you can look at the invoices, or you can look at the customers that you worked with for that year. There's a lot of different ways to figure out how many jobs you had during that year. But then again, like I said, you want to track the revenue as well. So you take the total revenue for that period of time and you divide it by the total number of jobs that you did. And that will tell you how much each job is worth to you, right? So if you go through that whole process there and you find out that an average job for you is $30,000, right? You can now, using the math that we did for the marketing and filtering it through the different percentages of advancing along there, I can now say, okay, so if I put in $5,000, then I get 2 closes. And what's that worth? 2 times the average job size, so 60,000, right? So if I put in $5,000, I'm getting back 60,000, right? And so if you reduce that down, then it comes out as let's see, $1 for every 12. Okay, it cost me $1 to make $12. Does that make sense? I hope it does. And this is the only way to track your marketing efforts. And the things that you're doing. We can have a whole other conversation about marketing and about how to work that funnel and bring people through that to a sell. At another time, I'll bring in Ryan Speltz or Bryce Miller, or maybe both. And we can have a conversation about where to spend your marketing time and dollars, right? All right. So average job size, know your average job size. You've got to know your average job size. If you know your average job size, then it really does become a machine for you. I put in $1, I get 12 out, right? So important to know. I'm Jeremy with Foundation Accounting and Consulting. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. And I will talk to you later. Thanks for listening. If you found this episode helpful, please like and subscribe for weekly episodes to help you fuel your profit, level up your cash flow, and finance your growth. Until next time, go enjoy some green M&Ms and protect that cash.